Welcome to another episode of Dad Up, everyone. Thank you guys very much for joining me for yet another episode and another amazing guest that I have on today. He's become a good friend of mine through social media, as they all do, but he's become a good friend of mine. He's doing a lot of things, not only in the fitness industry, but in business, in life in general, and more importantly, with his family and his kids. So it is a pleasure to welcome my good friend, Anthony Mendez, the Dad Up. Welcome to the show, brother.
Ryan, thank you so much, man. I've been looking forward for this one and definitely excited to get into it and be able to learn and also provide as much value as I can.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been looking forward to it as well. Really excited to kind of dive in because, you have kind of a back history and things like that I want to go through and kind of hear about, kind of how you got started and the things you're doing. And then I'm very curious to hear about your kids and all that kind of stuff. So for my listeners, viewers who may not know who you are, let's talk a little bit about you, kind of your back history, how you kind of grew up, how you got into the things you're doing now, and then we'll dive into your family.
Definitely. So, for anybody that, out there who has maybe not come across me before, I'm Anthony Mendez. I am a health and fitness business coach and marketing agency owner. I'm also the co-host of the Sweat It Out podcast. Been in the industry of fitness for more than 12 plus years. I started as a personal trainer, working for corporate companies like Bally's when they used to exist, LA Fitness, Equinox, and then move heavily into the social media space, giving me the advantage to scale as an online fitness coach. Was a gym owner for a time as well, and saw the avenue that social media and online was paving for fitness professionals, and I was able to take advantage of that at an early on, part of my fitness career. And from there, it allowed me to explore other avenues of business and marketing, and it led me to then pivot into the business coaching space about 6 months before COVID hit, which then unlocked so many opportunities and potential for me, which then allowed me to open up my marketing agency, my podcast, and where you see me at today. But most importantly as well, I'm a father first, father always.
That's awesome. How many kids do you have?
I have one little girl.
How old is she?
She's going to be 4 in January.
Oh wow. So
Yeah.
she getting excited for Christmas coming up.
Oh man, she loves every holiday, but definitely Christmas. She's like, "Where's Santa? I want my gifts. I want gifts. I want family. I want this." She gets into a whole rant. She's too funny.
Oh, that's awesome. So I mean, you've been in the fitness industry for a while. Is that something that's always been a passion of yours as a young child, or did you just kind of stumble your way into it, just kind of working out and things like that?
Yeah. So, like I'm always gonna say, it's nothing, not one of these crazy stories or anything. It's just being an athlete my whole life. Really allowed me to always stay active, be active, work out, and exercise. And I've always loved it. I always love the conditioning component of sports, not just obviously playing it, but I love the conditioning aspect, the getting ready for it, feeling like I'm just getting better every day. That whole aspect really got a lot of my attention growing up. And then when I got to the point of finishing my athletic career in high school, I decided not to go and pursue, college sports. So I said, I got to do something. My last season of football and wrestling was done my senior year. And I said, I got to do something to stay active, something I love, and also start making money. So, luckily for me, I always say this because my mom was a step aerobics instructor when step aerobics was a popular thing. For many, many years, I believe it was like 24 years, she was a step aerobics instructor, and she was working with Bally's at the time. And she got me my first opportunity as being able to work as a trainer there because she had some connections with the managers and all that. And that led to my whole opening the doors for, a fitness profession. And it really started through there. That's how my career began.
Okay, so you've kind of been around fitness for your whole life between sports and your mom kind of being in that arena as well. Um, Fitness to me is for dads in particular is a very important part of our lives, and you stepped into a whole nother area of fitness with the online coaching part of it. And as you said, with the pandemic hitting, that kind of took off from there because of that. I do see that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do see that when I look at online stuff, fitness programs, videos, things like that, it looks saturated right now. there's a lot of people that are doing it. Was that a something that you worried about when you started more of the online approach to things?
So, really for me, when I started it for myself, there wasn't a lot of it. So when I started myself, we're going back to when I took social media hard, started hitting it hard. We're talking about back in like 2013, 2014. I was still working in a corporate setting, but I was building my brand already, doing a lot of fitness and videos and stuff like that. And as I was building my brand, it got me to the point around 2016. I jumped independently, and then I started doing my fitness online programs, which at the time it wasn't that popular. You didn't see that many fitness coaches doing online programs. So I came in an opportunity where things were open. It was like a blue ocean, and I wasn't competing with as many people. So during that time, it allowed me to really cultivate, learn, also test, see what works, what didn't work, and allow myself to keep growing from there to then where I got a good grasp of it and I was able to create a system. And then it allowed me to navigate into the business side of things and start working with, clients who needed it. And really, I would say COVID was the marker that really drew in the floodgates for online fitness coaching. Because that year of 2019 going into 2020, there was online fitness coaches more than even when I started, but it wasn't to the point where it's at today. And that really opened up the floodgates to really bring in a rush of people, and it really changed the landscape of fitness. But really, what I tell people all the time now, it's not looking at as like, am I entering a saturated market? It's more now you have to pivot into the sense of what's going to make me stand out the most amongst everybody, because at the end of the day, like we know in any business, right, like you go restaurants, it could be considered a saturated market, right? What's going to make you unique, what's going to make you stand out, what's going to make you different, and what's going to be your irresistible offer, right? Who's going to be your target audience. So if you can really dial in those specific things, you can totally separate yourself apart. It's just knowing how to do it and who's going to do it the most consistently and the most disciplined. And the reason I say that is because people don't know this, but in health and fitness, when it comes to training and coaching, there's a 90% drop off rate in this industry because a lot of coaches don't know how to get a grasp of it. And the two biggest issues you see is either one, they don't have enough leads to be able to sustain a business, or number two, they're so burnt out because of the one-on-one or because of the way that they have their model that they just can't handle it anymore and they collapse. So those are the two biggest problems you see in this industry. And it's more about like, if you know how to be able to navigate through this and be able to have the right tools and systems, you're going to be able to do really, really well, because health is one of the biggest money-making markets, health and wellness, health and fitness, in the world. So anything that you involve yourself with health and fitness, if you learn and have the right systems, you will do very, very well, because people are always going to have pain points in those areas that need to be solved.
Yeah. When you talk about helping online coaching, you do a lot with helping trainers, online coaches grow their business, right? How do you do that as in the industry you're in? How do you do that with these guys? What's your process?
Definitely. So, great question. So I have a 5-step method. So number one, my first method is basically called the 6-figure fit pro assessment. And then I'll go back to, and I'll explain kind of back and forth when I started, how I started figuring this out, but, using my story. But for me, the first thing I did, and I say this because it's important for any coach or trainer out there to listen to this, is that when I went into the online fitness space, I thought that just having a big following already, I think at the time I had like 50 to 70,000 followers. I said, great, I'm going to drop my program post. I'm going to let people know I have a program. I'm going to crush it. And that was my mindset. I did that. And little did I know, I only sold one program.
Wow.
One program. And the program I sold was to an old client that I had a year ago. So it wasn't even a new lead. It was a past lead that just saw it and said, all right, let's do it. That to me scared me, because I was like, wait, I'm doing all these videos, I'm getting interactions, I'm getting tons of engagement, and I only sold one program. Now I had a problem on my hands. And what I started doing as I started digging and looking for answers, I started realizing that I just didn't have a target audience. I didn't have a niche, and I was just shooting all over the place. And that's where I came up with the 6-figure fit pro assessment, where it allowed me to identify and create who my ideal avatar was going to be. So that way I can go dial in and speak to the right people and attract the right people. And that's the first thing I did with my business. And my business then literally just started moving up. And that literally already started bringing me in an extra $3,000 to $5,000 a month, just implementing that first step into my business. And as going from there, I'm thinking, okay, great, I solved everything. Little did I know, again, I hit another roadblock. And in that roadblock, what I came to realize was, okay, I'm out here, I'm getting in front of more people now, I'm getting more of the right people, but for some reason, I'm not able to close as much. I'm not able to get as many sales and any deals coming in. And quickly did I realize, because this one lady, I remember after we jumped off our call, she messaged me and she said, hey, look, she's like, I was so confused on what you were even offering. And then that was like, oh crap. If she's telling me that, then everybody I'm getting on calls that are denying me are probably feeling the same way. Again, I had to go back, start doing digging, started, learning into like how to be able to craft offers, how to be able to build offers, and most importantly, an irresistible offer, because if your offer is not irresistible, people are not going to want it, and be able to provide that perceived value and that upfront, and be able to show people, like, hey, why this can solve your problem. So going back to the books and doing this work, this is where I was able to come with what's called the Fit Pro Business Builder, which is basically we help you craft out an irresistible offer. And not only craft out an irresistible offer, but we have 3 pillars to our offer: high ticket, medium ticket, low ticket. And once I did that for myself, and I put it to the test, I realized this was the next problem I had. And the reason why I was failing at it is because I had no offers, and I was just constantly just pitching different things to different people. I was just out there, okay, let me try this price for this one. I'll tweak this offer for this one. This one will be a little different. Oh, they have money, I'm going to charge them a lot more. They don't have that much money. And I was just playing like that. And at the end of the day, that causes confusion, not only for yourself, but for the buyer. Most importantly, a confused buyer doesn't buy. So quickly with that fitness business builder, I was able to start seeing wins. I had more clear conversations with people. When I was presenting my offers, they were a lot more clear. People knew what they were getting. They knew the deliverables, and I had my specific price points for each one, and it wasn't just shooting randomly. So once I implemented those first 2 steps, I really saw an inclination in my business. That's when I said, okay, my business is going somewhere. And through that process, I was probably there for a few months until I hit another wall. And the other wall was, as I was exhausting already a lot through my content and already exhausting a lot of the people that I was already just attracting from before, I wasn't really attracting new people. And I was like, okay, what is going on now? My business is starting to do this. And I quickly realized within those few months, okay, I have a content and marketing problem. And how I realized was that because I had another person reach out to me and they said, hey, look, I like what you're doing. I like what we spoke about, but I don't understand how you're going to get me to do this that you're showing in your content if I can't even do this first. And that made me realize that I had a marketing issue. And my issue was I was putting content that didn't even align with the people that I was trying to talk to. So the audience I built, my content wasn't even in alignment with the audience I built. And that was a big problem. So right there, that's when I actually started working with somebody to help me out with my marketing. And I started realizing and learning how to be able to start putting the right marketing message out and the right content that makes sense for that person, and using their pain points and creating content from those people's pain points, from your target audience's pain points. I started talking more, not only talking more, but I also started showing my lifestyle. Before I wasn't doing that. It was just like an exercise library. I started being able to connect more with people. And at the end of the day, people connect with people. They don't just connect with a product. People connect with people. So I needed to connect with people more and start showing more of that cultivating content. And when I started doing that and figured that out, I came out with a Fit Pro marketing machine. And from there, I was able to then start bringing in a lot of business and a lot of leads because I had a marketing machine set in place. And that's really when I saw the first big leap in my business. Like, it really separated the gap, because now I had now I had a new problem, which was, okay, I'm getting all these leads, which is great, but the issue was I was now facing more opportunities and more objections and more other things I wasn't seeing before because I wasn't getting so many leads. So which led me to the next issue, which probably took me about 7 months to really like remove my ego and allow myself to be coached by a sales expert. And it was the fact that I needed to learn how to be able to start doing high ticket sales, and I needed to learn how to be able to handle conversations properly, coach somebody through a call, and be able to handle objections I've never seen before or faced because I just didn't have that much opportunities before. And I was like, great that I have this marketing machine, but if I'm not closing, then what's the point? So the moment I realized that I needed to hire a coach for that is when really my business was like, okay, I took it from being a $10,000 a month business to now like a $30,000-$40,000 a month business. And implementing that coach in place allowed me to come up with my Fit Pro sales machine, which I was now able to not only, not close 10 to 20% anymore, but now I'm closing anywhere between 40 to 60% in my business. And for any person out there in business, what that can do for you. And that really, really started making me understand, the importance of sales and the importance of mastering it, and crafting it to make sure that you can actually convert people from your leads. And another thing, people would say, okay, cool, you're done. I thought I was done. I was like, okay, I'm set. I'm making good money. I'm already made it. I'm a disruptor in my space. And again, I hit another wall. That next wall I hit was, I think I was about there for like 9 months to a year of trying to figure this out. And it led me to a positioning of hiring another coach. And I say that because I think a lot of people sometimes don't realize the importance of hiring somebody to help you. And you got to understand that, speed rewards success, and you have to be able to move quickly and make those mistakes quickly and realize I need help, because if not, you're going to be stuck there longer than what you want to be. And that second time I hired a coach really opened up my eyes in the importance of continuously hiring more coaches. That's why I hire a coach every year. And what it was for me at that time was I had all the 4 steps in place: the 6-figure Fit Pro assessment, the Fit Pro business builder, the Fit Pro marketing machine, the Fit Pro sales machine. And I had created money for myself. I created my own schedule, but the problem is I didn't have freedom. And I was still in a position where I was like burning myself out. And I said, okay, this is a problem because this is only going to last so long. And I was already seeing the little holes and the cracks where they were exposing themselves. And the thing that I needed to learn when I hired this coach was I needed to start building a team. And this is where I really started learning the power of building a team. And not only the power of building a team, but the understanding of being able to give trust to somebody else and you giving up power. And I think that one of the things that scares, and I say not only entrepreneurs, but more men, is giving up power and putting that trust in somebody else's hands, which in turn, because this is a baby you've built for so long and you know how to do it best, you're scared that it's going to go down or it's going to die out. Well, here's the thing. If you don't understand how to let go, you're going to lose your business. It's the same thing I think when we learn as parents, like obviously me talking to friends who have older kids, is you have those parents that always want to hold on to their kids. They're scared to let their kids go into the world. They want to hold on to them. What you're doing is you're separating that relationship with your kid, because your kid is like, stop suffocating me. But at some point you have to let go and understand that, hey, your kid is going to do fine. It's the same thing with business. You have to let go and understand, I got to let go of all this power and control and give it to key players in my business who know how to do certain things better than I do to get results, so I can start thriving and create freedom. And that's what I did. And that's where I came up with the Fit Pro team machine, which allowed me to instill the right team key players to be able to automate my business and create an evergreen process. And I took that system, which is called the Fit Pro method, and this is what I put in place for my clients. This is what allowed my clients to become, 6-figure plus earners and create that money time freedom that they're looking for. And especially in the health and fitness field, where a lot of it is worked in reverse, where they teach you, learn all the education of the body, this and this first, and then business doesn't come till a few years later, and that's why they don't make it. I want to see less trainers and coaches falling out of the industry, where I want them to come in, get your certs, get your main education, and learn business right away. So that way you don't have the problem of that falling in that bracket of the 90% drop off. And for me, that was kind of been my mission since the beginning. And being able to cultivate these coaches and trainers to understand that if you want to be able to have a long-term business, you need to build a business that can sell. And I think that a lot of times we don't come into the mindset of build a business to sell, even if you don't want to sell it, because a business that cannot be built to sell is not a real business. And that's where I've learned along these tracks myself and working with coaches and making me understand the power of building an actual business.
Yeah, you said a couple things in there that made a lot of sense, especially for entrepreneurs. One being that when you're trying to be an entrepreneur, trying to develop a business, the first thing you really got to come up with is the brand. What's the brand? What does it represent? What does it mean? What's the value of it? And then once you have that established, then the next step obviously is to find, okay, where's my market? Who's my, what's the niche market that I need to target? For me with the Dad Up podcast, that obviously the brand is in the name itself, being a dad and stepping up. That's really where the brand is and what the brand represents. And then who's my target market? Well, that's easy. It's dads. Now I do have, a certain range of ages that kind of drift towards my podcast or the information that I'm putting out more than others. I'm usually in that 30 to 45 year range is where most of my dads are. But I do have younger dads and older dads. And truth be told, I've actually have a lot of moms that watch the show or listen to the podcast. I'm at about a 60-40 split right now. So I have 60% are dads, 40% are moms, which is great. So yeah, finding that niche market or finding that target market that you want to go after and capitalizing it, sending the messages out and sending sharing the marketing materials with that target market. And then the third thing you talked about is obviously help, finding the help. I value my time. So there are areas in my time that I need to get back. And how do I get that back? Well, that means I have to relinquish some responsibility to others and finding the help in others. And that also applies to parenting too. As parents, we can't do it ourselves all the time. We have to rely on other people, whether it's our spouses or other family members or close friends. We have to rely on other people to help us in order to be a successful parent, in order to have our child grow up and be successful. So those are all important areas as a dad and as a man, as a husband, or as a woman or an entrepreneur, right? So those are very critical, and that seems very simple to do, but it does take a lot of work. It does take a lot of time. It does take a lot of research because you're obviously trying to figure out what your target market is. That takes a lot of research. Capitalizing on help, just finding the right help. People, like you said, finding people that are successful in the area that you want to be an entrepreneur in is helpful. You want to find those people. The same thing applies for parents. I'm not, as a dad, if I need help in an area as a parent, I'm not necessarily going to go to somebody who's probably not a dad and ask him for parenting advice. I want to seek parents that have been successful. And that's exactly what I've done through my years as a dad. My boys, I have two boys, they're older, 24 and 21. But the fact is, I utilize the help of others, between my wife, family members, my pastor, things like that. Reaching out to other people that have been successful parents is how I was able to, in my view, I've messed up a lot, but in my view, been a successful parent. So that's awesome. I do want to ask you this though, as a man, we have a lot of, our lives are busy. As moms too, this applies to moms too, but our lives are busy. We're constantly on the go, whether it's with work, house things, errands, all those different things apply. As a dad, trying to find time to take care of our bodies, take care of ourselves, take care of our health. Some dads say, I don't have the time to do that. Great, Anthony, I want to work with you too, but the training program you're putting me through, I just don't have the time for that. So what's your words of advice to dads when they use that excuse or that objection?
Yeah. So first thing, and that's a great one, because I'm going to go back and I'm going to first say like, and I'm going to try to relate with anybody who's in their position, right? In the position they're in. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I recently caught myself in a position where I was struggling through a moment in my life when me and my little girl's mom, unfortunately we had split up. It's going to be 2 years now in January. And that first year, I'll tell you, it took a hit on me. It took a hit on me. Like my health went down. I was giving up all my only time I had extra because I wanted to be the best father I could be. And I thought by me giving up my time for myself was going to be the way to show her, my little one, that I'm here for you all the time, accessible, and I have to give up myself to now make you feel loved. And little did I know, I was deteriorating myself. I went from working out 5-6 times a week to working out maybe once a week at most. And I'm saying this because I know there might be other dads out there that are going through this, because I've been through this, or that going through other things during their family or other things that they're facing. And it might feel like you don't have the time. It might feel like, you've hit rock bottom and there's just no way out. You might feel like that's it. It's either this or I can't do anything at all. And, I had to go through that myself. And it was crazy because, coming into, I went a position of more business before when I was a trainer, always hearing my clients telling me things like, oh, I got to find the time, or I'm dealing with this in my family, or me and my partner just split up. And at the time I maybe didn't, since I was a trainer, I wasn't really like, I was like, but yeah, no, like just excuses. And now that I experience myself being not the trainer anymore, I was like, damn, now I know what my clients were telling me when they were going through some of these things that I'm going through right now. And the biggest thing that I'll tell anybody is you need to be able to, if you're going through something similar like this, or you're going through troubles, or you're going through some kind of, whether it's a breakup, or whatever problems you're facing where you're coming up with the excuse of not being able to create time, that's when you need to be able to go find help. And that's when I realized was that if I tell myself, even now, if I talk myself, telling myself I don't have time, then that means I need to get help. Because the fact that I'm telling myself that means I'm cutting myself too thin or I'm doing too much. And I need to be able to get help from either, if it's business, your team, or you need to build a team if you don't have a team, or you need to get help from family members or from friends or people around you. I think sometimes we get scared to ask for help because we think that people are going to say no, but you never know. And it's okay to ask for somebody to help you watch your child, or ask somebody to help you to, with an area of your business or X, Y, and Z, ask your partner to do this so you can focus on yourself. Because if you're not your best self, then you're not going to show up powerfully for you, your family, your friends, your business. And I had to come to realization with that quickly to change my own life so I don't keep falling down. So whenever I talk to somebody, I always try to understand best, when they're, and relate with them as much as I can with them, and be able to dive in deeper when somebody says, man, I don't have the time, or I'm struggling with time right now, I can't commit to something else. Well, I'd be like, hey, look, I totally understand. Like, you're busy, you're a mom or you're a dad, you've been you told me you're an entrepreneur, you run your own business, you have this many kids. Man, I hear you. I can see why you don't have the time. Now, quick question. I know you mentioned that this quick question. I know you told me this was very, very important for you. Are you somebody that's kind of like, hey, that since I don't have the time, I'm just gonna just keep waiting and waiting? Or is it more like, hey, I don't have the time, but I'm willing to figure every way out possible to create some time? Which person are you? And most of the time, people are going to tell you, I'm the type that's going to be willing to figure it out, especially if they got on a call with you. There's a reason why they got on a call with you. And I said, awesome. So let's do this. How about we create a list and let's open up your calendar and let's figure out ways that we can create time. And you got to work with them through it. Like, hear them out, feel them out, understand where they're coming from, put yourself in that place, and then also use some of your own stories or client stories. For anybody who's like a new trainer that maybe doesn't have clients yet, use your own stories. For anybody who's a trainer who already has testimonials and clients, use your client stories to share with that prospect, and let those stories be an impact for them. Maybe you had a client who had a similar story to John, and you're like, hey, look, John, man, I had a client named Ron, and let me tell you, it reminds me a lot of what you're going on. And walk them through that story, because, and send them the testimony. Be like, hey, look, this is my client, Ron. If you know what, let me introduce you guys. I think you guys will hit it off. Let me introduce you guys. Use these different ways to connect with your prospect, and also to just to bring those walls down, those barriers. But most important, you got to meet them where they're at. If you don't meet them where they're at, then you're going to lose it. And that's what I like to do, is come up with solutions, and let's look at that calendar. Let's figure ways out. Hey, look, I see that you have a white gap here. 30 minutes. This is great. Can you commit to that, to being a time that you could put in for your health? Yeah, sure. I can definitely do that. Okay. So create solutions and show them that, hey, we're here to work together and help you out. And this is not to bring more stress onto you, because what happens a lot, and I've come to realize in the fitness space, is that sometimes a lot of prospects or clients, they'll get more stressed on the fact that they know they need to add this to their schedule. So how can you help them to make them realize and work with their current schedule to make this as easy and less stressful as possible? And that's kind of how I do things and how I work with my clients.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think there are a ton of areas where people say we don't have enough time. I don't have enough time for that. 30 minutes, like you're talking 30 minutes, that's nothing, right? Um, when they say those things, I think about, okay, but where is your time being dedicated? If it's if you're working at your job for 18 hours a day, maybe you can squeak out the 30 minutes out of that time. If you're working on your brand and you're spending so much time on your brand, maybe you can squeak out 30 minutes at a time to take away from that so you can focus on your health. If you're spending your evenings watching television, relaxing for 2 hours every night, well, that's an easy fix there, right? And then the last thing I like to say, like for me, I like to work out in the morning because I just know that by the time my day is done, at the end of the day, trying to go work out is just not going to happen. But I know that if I can get up an extra 30 minutes early to get a workout in, that's the best time for me. And yes, I'm going to lose a little bit of sleep, 30 minutes worth of sleep, but maybe you go to bed 30 minutes earlier, or find a way to help you sleep a little better so you get a more solid sleep when you are sleeping, get a more solid sleep during the night. But 30 minutes in the morning of just waking up 30 minutes earlier just to get a workout in, even if it's
Yeah,
3 days a week, that's huge. 3 days a week, you can commit to that 3 days a week. That's nothing. 2 of those days could happen on Saturday and Sunday,
I agree.
so yeah, that's super important. And you brought up a good point. Listen, if we're not 100% healthy and our gas tank isn't full, health wise, mentally, physically, for ourselves as dads, how are we gonna show up for our families? You got to be able to
Mhm.
show up for your families. If your gas tank is on empty, you're not going to be able to be 100% for your family. And that's where your gas tank really needs to be full. And just the fact of you working out on the days that you commit to working out, trust me, and I'm sure Anthony can attest to this, but trust me, you'll have so much more energy. You'll feel so much better about it. You'll be more positive, more energetic. It does wonders, just that extra 30 minutes.
Oh, huge. It's a game changer. And this is why I love the health and fitness space, because it really does change your life in all aspects. It changes your life, to the cellular level, and also as well to the environment. You take the way that you approach your environment, the way you approach your business, the way you approach your meetings, the way you approach your family interactions, the way you are going to be with your kids, your spouse, whatever it is, it changes everything. And that's why I love it, because it has an overall impact. And what I came for me personally, what I realized after during that hard time of, that co-parenting, trying to figure that out and learning that, and I asked for help. I reached out and asked for help because I was in a place that I needed help. When I came to realize in the last 2 years, like the very, very big importance of understanding, your success pillars. And for me, I always tell people, like, you have your health, self-care, friends and family, and business. And you have to look at it as like a table, right? And a table has 4 legs, and each of those legs is a pillar, and each pillar is very important. And each pillar means success for you. Of course, in health, there could be different things. Like for me, it's physical movement, mental, spiritual. For somebody else, it could be something, another thing added on in there. But for me personally, mentally healthy, physically healthy, and spiritually healthy. And then that's my first thing. Second thing is self-care. And I call it dating yourself, taking yourself out on a date. And that's time for yourself, time for you to go do a hobby, time for you to go spend time on your own, reflect with yourself. It simply could be going for a 30-minute to an hour walk, going to the beach, taking yourself out to lunch or dinner, going doing something you like, taking that self-care moment to really pour into you, and only you. This should be your time. And then when it comes to friends and family, I think another important pillar in there is that, because I think sometimes we get caught up as entrepreneurs, which I get it. There's moments of sacrifice, but if you don't also fill the cup of being happy that you've gotten time to be with your friends and your family, you're not going to feel successful. And that's why I put it in there. As much as when you build your calendar out, you need to make sure that those things are in there. And then lastly, business. And the reason why I put it as, for me, I put it as like the last thing, because I'm a true believer that if you don't fill your cup of health, self-care, friends and family, you're not going to pour into your business effectively, which most people put business here, and then all these three lack, and then your business will eventually start crumble because you're not taking care of your health, your self-care, and your friends and family. But if you flip it and you do the opposite, you'll see how your business will start thriving. And then for anybody, you got to just look at your four legs, look at your table and say, which of those legs is weak? Which of those legs is about to collapse, right? Because if I take one leg out, your table might be standing, but if I touch that table, it's going to fall. And the same thing, if you only have two legs, you're like this. And if you have one, then you're completely upside down. So you have to find out which of those legs you have to strengthen, start pouring some time, energy into it, and get it strong. So you have a strong table, a strong core. And for me, I truly live by those four pillars. And it's helped me to like really cultivate a much flourishing and fulfilling life, because I can stay true to those things.
Yeah, no, that's a great analogy. The table analogy is always, having the four legs. That applies in tons of areas of our lives. We can use the table analogy. So that's great. Absolutely. I want to ask you this. We have in society right now, we have probably the highest obesity rate among kids in general.
Oh, yeah.
Because of a few factors. Number one, the ease of the availability of foods that aren't healthy, right? That's available to us at our fingertips from our phones, right? And then also, the use of social media and electronics, because our kids are becoming more sedentary in what they're doing. They're not as active. From my boys, we're always encouraged an extracurricular activity outside of school and outside of the home. And my boys just gravitated towards sports. But there's a lot of kids that may not be interested in sports. And what they're doing is they're finding their time spent on YouTube or video games, and because of that, they're not actively moving. They're not moving their bodies and exercising in the right way. So our kids have become naturally obese or heavy, fat, right? We're just going to call it what it is. They've become overweight as children. And that's sad, because it's dangerous, number one. And number two, they're not learning how to take care of themselves when they're adults. So my question to you, as somebody that's in the fitness industry, as a parent or as a dad, as a parent, my kids are not wanting or willing to do anything, be active. They just want to sit their faces in front of the YouTube or the television or the video games. How do I get my kids to be interested in being more active to help take care of their bodies?
Yeah, great question. Great question. So I would say the first thing is, I think naturally as parents, we go into kind of like we want to kind of almost attack mode and kind of say like, you're wrong, you're not doing this, you're gonna die, you're gonna do this, and we've come to realize that it's just gonna keep pushing them more away. And I think one of the biggest thing is to come to realize, and this is just coaching stuff, even when you're doing them with your clients, is they already know that they're doing bad. They already know their health is not in the best place. They already know they're not moving their bodies. They don't want to keep knowing that. So my thing is, find ways that you can first do things that they can participate in with you, and kind of bring them along with you, right? Where it's like, hey, and don't force it like you need to come with me. It's repetitive, constantly touch points. Like in marketing, the more touch points you make, eventually that person will follow into your pipeline, and eventually you sold them. So I look at it as the same thing. How many touch points are you creating with your children to then eventually get them to go do the thing you want them to do? So you have to lead by example as a parent. And I
Right.
always say that if they don't see you moving or they don't see you active, what makes them going to think that, oh, well, why should I be active? You're not even active. So I think the number one thing is lead by example and invite them. Hey, um, give me what's one of your kids' names?
Blake.
Blake. Hey Blake, buddy, I just want to let you know I'm gonna go play some basketball. I'm gonna shoot some hoops with your cousin or with your family member, with our friends. Hey, want to know if you want to tag along? I need an extra teammate. I need an extra partner. Now he's gonna be like, he's gonna number one, it's gonna make him feel like, damn, dad needs an extra partner. If not, he can't play. And then number two, it's gonna be like he's inviting me, he's not forcing me.
Right.
So I think using some of the choice of words helps a lot too, and almost like an invitation. And then it makes it also believe like he's not gonna be like, oh, he's forcing me to exercise. It's coming to play, and the play creates exercise. So it kind of hides it in there. And then as you start doing things like that, I really think it starts allowing also as well discovery of what your kids like, because through there you can see maybe they do like that activity you're doing, they want to join you, or maybe you can come and approach, hey, look, I know I've been asking you to come play basketball with me. Maybe basketball's not your thing. What would you like to do? Let's do something. What would you like to do? What do you like? He might tell you, man, I want to go canoeing, or I want to go hiking, or I want to go, and maybe like that, you start getting out of them some of the things they like, and they want to start doing it with you. So I think it's all about how we approach, how we deliver, how we be able to interact with our kids. It starts with the parents leading by example. And if you're a parent who has their own health issues and maybe overweight, and you start changing your life and you start losing weight, your kids see that. And it might motivate them to want to do the same. And then not only that, but if your kids live with you, when you start changing your environment that they're in, it might naturally start helping them too. If you start picking and choosing the foods that are best for you, and you bring that into the household, well, your kids are going to be in that environment as well. And again, there's that saying that, the environment you're in or the people you hang around, you will become. So if you start changing yourself as a parent first, you'll start seeing naturally how they can start motivating your kids to go ahead and start following more of that lifestyle. So I think that's one of the best, easiest approaches to start working, to help your child, combat obesity or fight into losing some weight, is approaching it in those different ways. And I think another big thing as important when it comes to these young kids is, as parents, like, we have to monitor the things that they see on social media. We have to be on top of our kids more on that. We live such in a world where you get so consumed by this phone and social media. And look, don't get me wrong, I love social media. I think it's a great tool. And it's exactly that. It's a tool. It's not a lifestyle. It's not an escape, which that's what people use it for, as an escape. It's a tool to help you in what you're trying to advance in or succeed in. It's not for you to get consumed in it. And a lot of kids get consumed into stuff that they shouldn't be seeing. And I'm not just talking about like explicit stuff, but also stuff that might inhibit them from losing weight, right? This over glorification of obesity. That's one of the things I'm tired of seeing. I'm tired of seeing content that glorifies obesity on a 24/7 basis. And my whole thing is, there's a difference between glorifying obesity and fat shaming. Complete difference.
Right.
Fat shaming is you're making somebody feel bad and you're bringing them down, you're bullying them based on their weight. When glorifying obesity is you're putting people who are obese on a pedestal and making them seem that it's okay, it's healthy. Now they're saying it's healthy to be looking like that because you should feel comfortable under your own skin. Well, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. If anything, that wrong messaging is going to drive people to die more, get more diseases, create more problems, because you're only trying to sell your products. And that's what I tell people all the time. I go, what these people are feeding you, and they're trying to make you feel safe and make you feel accepted, what they're doing is they're making money off of you, and they don't care about your health. But I care about your health, right? So what I think as parents, we need to make sure that our children are not seeing the wrong things or wrong messages. And again, I think that we live in a time where I think it's even harder now to parent kids than it was before. And I'm not saying there weren't challenges before, but I think it's getting harder because there's so much more access. There's so much more exposure, and there's so many different things going on that kids are getting, fed all this information, and it's becoming an overload for kids. That's why kids are stressing out more. Kids are more depressed. kids are committing more suicide, and obesity is an all-time high because there's just too much for them to handle. Their brain can't even process. Imagine us adults who we're stressing out, we're having a hard time. Some of the stuff we can't even process. Imagine kids who their brains are not even fully developed. So I think as parents, we need to be on top of seeing what are they looking at. If we're talking about the obesity topic, are they looking at things that is only making them accept that it's okay to be obese, that it's okay to live that lifestyle? Are they looking at things that, are making them feel that they can continue living this way, or are they looking at positive things to help them get them out of the situation that they're in? So I think as parents, we have to just, to keep it in a nutshell, the way we speak to them, the way we deliver, the way we invite them to, get them excited, to invite them to something, get them involved with what you're doing. I think participation as a family is an important thing, especially now. I think more than ever, the family dynamic needs to be strong. And I think by you involving your kids in the things you're doing is going to be very important. And then lastly, just being on top of what they're looking at. I think you can start there and you can start seeing results.
Yeah, it's great information. And I absolutely agree with everything that you said, particularly when it comes to getting them involved in things outside of the home, just showing an interest in the things that they're interested in and leading by example, as you had said. Hey, I'm going to play with the guys or some of the boys at the park. We're going to play some basketball. Would love for you to join me because I need a teammate. That's great. And here's the thing, parents need to understand, you don't have to take away the devices from them. You don't have to take away the PlayStations, the video games from them. I'm just saying that there are ways to get them actively moving and still allow them to enjoy those other things, those luxuries that they have. There's ways to do it. And Anthony brought up some good points there through leading by example. If you're going to sit on the couch and watch football and tell your kid to go outside and play because he needs to get active, you're not sending the right message. Well, you're sitting on the couch and you're making him go outside and do something to be active. So leading by example, and then our words are powerful. Words can highlight somebody or they can crush somebody, and depending on how you use them. So use your words carefully around your kids in the things that you say to them, especially when it comes to trying to get them to be more interested in being active outside of the home. Those are great tools, great strategies. I appreciate you sharing that. Anthony, if my listeners want to look you up, learn a little bit more about you, best place for them to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate, allowing me to plug that in and connect with your audience. And before I do, I want to mention one more thing, so for any parent to understand, like the way that you parent one child might be different the way you might parent your other child. So the way you might talk to one and communicate with one might be different. And I think that's just an important thing I like to always say, because sometimes we get stuck as parents, like I got to talk to this one and this one the same, because if not, one's going to feel excluded or the other one's going to feel this way and I got to treat them equal. And it's like, no, your kids are different. We're different. Even as parents with your significant other, we're going to parent differently. And you got to just learn the best way for you to be able to communicate with one child and with another one, and how one learns more than how one learns versus how the other one learns. And I think that's another big opportunity to see change in the family dynamic and in your kids' dynamic. So I just wanted to mention that as well. Yeah. So where people can connect with me, I'm easy to find on Instagram, Mendez Fitness, Mendez Fitness. Reach out to me. I love to connect with my audience. I'll tell you right now, like as much as I have a team involved in my social media and they do some connecting for me, I'm 85 to 90%. I'm usually going to be the one responding because I like really interacting. My team usually will let me know, hey, look, somebody messaged this, or just letting you know if you want to interact with them. And I always do a really good job on myself to do that because I love connecting with my audience, dropping voice notes, so you'll hear from me. And then you can also connect with me on through email. You can email me at anthony@mendezfitness.com. That would be another easy way to connect with me. Also, as well, my podcast is Sweat It Out Podcast. On Instagram, it's Sweat It Out podcast. On YouTube, Apple, Sweat It, and Spotify, Sweat It Out podcast. Right now, we're on kind of like a little grace period. We're going to relaunch the new season moving forward into 2023. Probably like we're looking for like March, April. But that's kind of like the estimate time for anybody who decides to go in there, want to listen. We'll be relaunching again then, but you could go ahead and look at some of our old episodes.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. And I'll make sure to include those in all the show notes. So thank you for that. And just for my listeners, my viewers, he is very active on social media, mainly Instagram. You can find him, you can communicate with him. He's very active and very responsive. So if you have questions when it comes to your fitness, maybe your business, maybe you're in that fitness business arena and you're having some struggles, or maybe you have a question about parenting, things to deal with your kid when it comes to kids to come to fitness, maybe different fitness exercises they could do that are healthy for them. Those kind of things, reach out to him because he would absolutely respond to you and give you some advice or guidance. Listen, Anthony, it's been just an extreme pleasure having you on, brother. I really appreciate and admire the things that you're doing, not only as a businessman, but as a dad. And I really do appreciate our friendship and the times that we've had to connect through social media. And I'm looking forward to growing this friendship. So I appreciate you being on, brother.
Oh, thank you, man. No, it's Bryan, it's been an honor to be on here and share as much as I can and learn as well. And I look forward to connecting more with your community and all the other dads out there who probably can teach me a lot, as well as I continue growing through my fatherhood journey with my little girl. So I got a lot to learn, a lot to apply. So I'm definitely excited, to be able to be part of your dad up community. And just to share off on a note, I always like to leave this off with anybody in the audience listening. If the world doesn't stop for you, why are you going to stop for the world? You got to keep moving with everything you do. The more you move, the more you win, the more you'll succeed. So keep moving as a dad, a business owner, as a significant other, as anybody who wants to become and continue growing in their life. You got to keep moving and just don't stop for anybody. You got to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Well said. Well, listen, everybody, thank you again for another watching episode of Dad Up. Thank you to my good friend, Anthony Mendez, for being on the show. Make sure you guys are checking out the things that he's doing through social media. You can go to his website. You can sign up for his YouTube channel, listen to his podcast, Sweat It Out podcast. Do all those things for him. And then obviously for me, if you're not subscribed yet to the Dad Up podcast, make sure you do that. Subscribe to the YouTube and anywhere you get your podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, any of those places. And then as always, like I've told you guys before, you can always reach out to me on Instagram in the DMs, and either myself or someone from my team will reach back to you and we'll get things answered for you or move from there. So thank you again for you that are watching, listening, wherever you are. And I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of Dad Up.
Thanks so much for listening to the episode. Make sure you guys subscribe to my podcast and YouTube channel. And please do me a favor, leave a rating and a review. Would love to hear from you and see what you think of the show. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes each week. Until next time, thank you for listening to the Dad Up Podcast.